The Pelicans traded for Dejounte Murray, and I wanted them to get Trae Young. I felt like that would have been the better guard to add in your lineup with Zion, the lob threat. Zion is having Trae Young throw him dimes and assist would have been a great move for the Pels. But getting Dejounte Murray still is a solid move. This is a defensive kind of minded team. You got great defenders on this team, and Dejounte Murray, he's a defending guard, a guy. At Atlanta, though, you didn't really see it as much because Trae Young was his other guard he was playing with. So he kind of, his defensive numbers, his defensive production regressed because he had to guard the best player all the time, and the defenders around him weren't that great. But back with the Pelicans, he's going to be what he was in San Antonio as a defender. So I'm excited about, him at the point guard position. That lineup. I mean, they didn't even have to give up Brandon Ingram, too. So right now, if you keep Brandon Ingram, you have, DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and then probably the center they just drafted from Baylor, which is solid. They should probably, sign a center in free agency, maybe a veteran guy, Andre Drummond. And then you got Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, two solid ass players, two guys that can defend. Herb Jones is one of the best defensive players in the league, and Trey Murphy, this is an ascending guy that could be a star. That's why Brandon Ingram is in all these trade rumors, and he should have been in the package for Atlanta. Surprising they didn't get rid of him. And Jose Alvarado off the bench. You have three really solid players off the bench. This team is deep as fuck if you keep Brandon Ingram. And DeJounte Murray, he improves this team a lot. At the point guard position, he could score, 20 points per game score for the last three straight seasons. Can assist. He's a good facilitator. In San Antonio, his last year, he averaged 9.2 assists. And in Atlanta, the past couple seasons, he's averaged 6 assists per game. So really, in that Thunder series, the Thunder were able to just take advantage of, the Pelicans not having a lot of playmakers in their backcourt. Just CJ McCollum was running the point guard position. So adding DeJounte Murray is going to improve all of that, and he's going to add another great defender. So Brandon Ingram, I don't know if they're going to trade him. I think personally, if it was me, if I was a GM, I would trade him because the less is better. Right now, your team is scary. You're good either way. If you keep Brandon Ingram, you know what you're getting. I feel like they've met that ceiling. They've met as good as he's gonna get with them. But on the roster right now, your team's deep. You got a lot of depth. You got Herb Jones and Trey Murphy coming off the bench. Trey Murphy won't be able to ascend and develop as much if you keep Brandon Ingram. But your team is deep and it's a really good roster. But if you trade Brandon Ingram, you will be able to get some solid ass role players. Maybe trade him to Cleveland. Get Jared Allen, a rim protector, a defender, a rebounder, the exact center you need in New Orleans with Zion. The exact center you need. Because the Baylor guy, I probably wouldn't start him right out the gates. If you have to, you have to. Because Jonas Valanciunas, I think he's going to be out of there. You're going to let him walk. Or you could get shooting. Trade him to Sacramento. Get Kevin Huerter, one of the best shooters in the league, the 3-point shooters in the league. Either way, you could go no wrong keeping Brandon Ingram. And if you decide to trade him, I would trade him, and I would add more pieces. I would add a rim protector. I'd add a center, and I would add shooting. That's the direction the Pelicans should go, in my opinion, because you've met your ceiling. You've met as good as you're going to get with Brandon Ingram and Zion and the core you have. Let's, allow Trey Murphy to ascend into the player he's supposed to be, because in the playoffs, he was the Pelicans' best player. He looked really good shooter, could defend. He could do so many things well. The potential for him would be something I want to see. So getting rid of Brandon Ingram is something I would do. Add more shooting to this team. And whether they do that or not, get Andre Drummond in the building. He's the center you need to, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, all the stuff he does. Gritty guy that could be a double-double machine still. He could average a double-double right now consistently. Everywhere he's been, Philadelphia, Chicago, after, his stints in Brooklyn and as a starter, he could still be a high level center for you. Obviously not, average 20 and 10 no more, but he could still be like a 12 and, 10 kind of rebound guy and give you that production you need at the 5 position. Or you could get Nikola Vucevic, a guy that's going to stretch the floors, a guy that's going to help spacing, a guy that could be 17 points per game kind of score, whatever you prefer. Chicago Bulls, I'm sure we'll take Brandon Ingram. We'll take him in a heartbeat. Give us Vucevic. We'll give you another guy, one of our guys off the bench picks and stuff. But yeah, let's make something happen. Let's make a deal happen. But Brandon Ingram, on the Pelicans or on another team, I'm excited to see where he ends up after this deal. But Dejounte Murray, this was a home run get for the Pelicans. Really like this move. Not as much as I would have liked the Trae Young move, but I think the Pelicans, this is a team that can compete for real. Zion, if he's healthy, that's a huge question mark every season. But how this roster looks, I'm excited to see what they can do in the West. Some people thought the NFC North was going to be the worst division in football this season. They thought it was going to be as bad as the NFC South.